following program does not necessarily reflect the opinions of the staff, management, ownership of the station. Jay and Janine are expressing their own opinions, and such is not a substitute for psychological or mental health advice. If you are experiencing an emergency, please hang up and call 911.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Momentum MindSet Show, where we're talking everything personal development, coaching, health, and the law. I'm your host, Jay, here with co-host Janine.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Please join us on Facebook, where we can be found at the Momentum MindSet Show. And if you want to call in and be part of the show, we would love to hear from you. It's 888-565-1470. And if being on live radio is not your thing, no problem. Send us your comments and we will interact with you on Facebook.
Let's create some momentum.
Yes.
And welcome to the Momentum MindSet Show. Friday afternoon, I'm your host, Jay Farrow.
And I'm your co-host, Janine Davis.
Welcome everybody in Radio Land. And how was your week? Because ours was pretty awesome.
Yeah, we had some really momentous things happening this week, and kind of getting on the other side of the dark side of the moon. And listen, you keep on trucking. So, yeah.
So we have a fun show for you today. We have a very special guest.
Yes, we do.
And some of you might know her from Facebook. I mean, she's on she's on my feed quite a bit. This is Kim. Kim, say hi.
Hi.
Okay, welcome. And
welcome.
we have a couple of different things that we're going to talk about today. And what I'm really I just want to start off with an acknowledgement, because we met on Facebook. Through, like, I was posting, and then you reached out to me, and
right.
And you've been really just very supportive. So I want to say thank you, and we really appreciate your support. Very excited that you're here.
We're very lucky that you support us.
Because
always.
we're thinking about, like, and we're on the ride over here, like how special it is that we're able to share what we're doing with someone like you, and also. Acknowledging you for what it took for you to be here today, because I mean, this going on the radio is like a big big deal. So I just wanted to say, welcome, and if you want to say hi, you can go ahead and say
introduce yourself, please.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kim Haugen DeLuca.
And where are you from?
I'm from Miramar, Florida.
Awesome, and well, listen, welcome. I'm just going to come with like a little check-in, like we do from our week.
Okay.
Because like Janine was saying, I mean, it was an awesome week. We did have some wins. We had some things that gave us a little bit of breathing room that we didn't have for like the last 3 months.
Seems longer than that. I'm sure it aged dramatically during that time.
And just to air out a little bit. So what we're working on right now, for Janine and I, is that we are working on a momentum program. We're also being challenged with running a business at the same time.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we're coming up for us right now, and this is the real part of the show, where we're gonna just this is what's up. It's even though things have been a bit easier this week, it doesn't mean that the conversations that we're having are going away. I'm finding personally that the energy that it's taken for the business is taking everything out of me. It's taking to be able to be creative in any other way, or be present. It's not, I find myself constantly thinking about the strategies in my cases. I mean, I'm in the shower, and I'm like in the mornings when I eat breakfast by candlelight by myself. Oatmeal.
See, Kim, are you there? I'll put him on camera for you.
And I have this little thing in front of me that says, see the good. And what I find is, like, within seconds, I'm already like 15 months into my cases thinking about what's going to happen next. How do I create the next result? And I have to catch myself. And I think about, what am I going to do? What's going to be coming up next? And these conversations are all based on my stories. And I find myself in fantasy.
Say more.
Okay, I'm like
in
in the fantasy of. Have you ever had a conversation like, okay, let's say that you get into an argument with somebody. If anybody has experience with this,
Yeah.
okay. Did you ever feel like, and I'll throw this out there, ever feel or ever do this? When I see him, I know what I'm going to say. I know exactly what I'm going to say. I'm going to say, you did this and you did that, and this is how I feel, and I want you to go fry ice, and then you get there, and it never ever goes that way.
Right. You freeze, or you say something totally different, or they say something that completely offsets you, and you're like, wait, what? I had such a brilliant speech to give you. And it was gone.
This is what I'm talking
Exactly.
about. This is what I'm talking about.
I think we all have those fantasies, actually.
So these are the fantasies I'm having with my cases, with the people that are on the other side. My conversation is like, why don't they listen to me? And it just plays and plays and plays.
I know the feeling. I know the feeling of that frustration.
I knew
of,
you would.
Why don't they listen to me? That's an interesting conversation to have.
It's
about now.
It sounds like you're frustrated.
It sounds like I am frustrated.
Would you like to speak into your frustration?
No, because one of the things that I learned about myself this week, which I'm actually tickled about it because it's always been a curiosity to me. So people who know me well will know that I have literally the patience of Job. I'm super patient, really, really loving to my friends and family until I'm not. And the contrast between those experiences is very, very, very harsh, because when you experience someone to be patient and loving, and then they show up with the literal polarity of that and the antithesis of that, because that's also an aspect of the personality and the human being. It's a really, really harsh contrast. So my 15-year-old niece, I call her Chernobyl. I mean, among many other things, because she has that. She has like sticky, sticky, sweet, like the most delicious human being on the planet. Literally, she's to die for. But then you make her mad. Oof. Whoa. And I've always been so amused by her. But then I realized this past week, I'm like, oh, I'm amused by her because I am her. Wait, what? So I have those two speeds. I'm like, again, an infinite amount of patience and grace towards the person and the whole thing, until I don't. And I'm always in control of that because, most people are more friendly with their angry side, so they can. Mine is so explosive, I'm literally afraid of it because it really is a nuclear explosion waiting to happen. So I don't want to talk about it right now because of that. And I know that aspect about me, and it's something that I'm actually working on, because part of being effective in your life is being real with who you are. And when your blind spots are no longer blind and they're facing you, you get to acknowledge them. And that is actually something that I'm working on, to find a little bit more of that, being able to express the frustrated and angry voice in a way that is not a nuclear explosion. In other words, like maybe it's a grenade, not exactly Hiroshima. I need to find the balance.
Okay, so let me talk.
Oh, okay, please.
If you don't feel like talking.
No, I do feel like talking.
Janine, this is where I'm at. This is, okay, then.
No. No. Okay, go ahead.
No. This is not smiley face time. I'm asking you seriously. Like, all right, here's where I'm going through, okay? Because at the same time I'm having all these conversations about my cases and everything else like that, I have been practicing, dedicated, committed to this. How do I? And it's not even procrastination. How do I get myself in flow? How do I climb the mountain, or the obstacle, I should say, the biggest obstacle of my entire life? And that's actually getting the work done that I wanted to get done that day. Mm-hmm. And for the last couple of weeks, I've been extremely intentional on waking up. I've shifted the time that I do on Facebook. I've shifted the time that I wake up. I've shifted the time that I go to the gym. I've shifted all of these things in an effort to get my first things done first, to have some wins where I'm actually getting work done. And then on top of that, mixed with that, we just filed, a case against the second largest insurance company in the or the independent insurance company in the United States.
I know,
We
it's
have
pretty
we have a
badass.
company up in London that's just aching for a federal lawsuit. I mean,
They are aching.
Wow.
I have like another this one divorce case, which is, I don't. You want Chernobyl? Is that what you call it? I mean, this divorce case has like my firm and this divorce case. I just close down and call it the name of this client's divorce case, because it's
Totally.
just taken up. And you talk about energy that's being poured into something and listening to something like this, and the woman on the other side is aching to throw my client into jail, and it's like, So all of these things at the same time that I stopped sugar and started to take those, my supplements perfectly again.
It's interesting that you say that, because just today I was saying that, when people think they're selfish, or like people think that they're the only person on the planet, or, the truth is we're all in community. We're all we're all together. Like, okay, you're the individual, but everything you do or don't do, or everything you say and you don't say, has reverberations. So you just said something really interesting there. So your supplements, your lack of sugar, and guess what? That shows up in your life. It shows up in the firm. It shows up with us. It shows up. Like, you're not an island by yourself. So it's true, like, we're in community, we're in relationship, we spend time together. So it's like, any decision that I make, just like when I am not taking care of myself, guess what? It shows up. It's not just between me and me. It's between me and everyone I'm in contact with.
Understood.
Yeah.
I
So-
get it.
Yeah.
And
And it doesn't diminish your experience. I get it. I'm just talking. Oh, hi, Gina. She's just joining us.
Gina, so I'm not using my stuff as an excuse, but I'm certainly as an explanation of, like, last night I had this feeling like I'm starting to feel better, and that's because of the function of my commitments to figuring out this block I've had my entire life. And I know I've written about it, and it's just this thing. I called it ADD the other day, and one of the doctors I spoke to said, you might have ADD. He gave me a prescription. I didn't fill it because everybody told me that basically the script is speed or crystal.
It is.
Yeah, it
Crystal
is.
meth or something
It
like
is.
that.
It is.
So I was like, I have too many other issues to start taking speed.
Right.
So I said, I'm not going to do that. So I'm trying to figure something else out.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, we had this concept of becoming your own hero.
Yes.
Okay, and that being in community, but at the same time recognizing that you're showing up for yourself. We had this conversation that we were just in the car.
100%.
Every single day, every single morning I wake up, I don't want to wake up. I mean, like, at that time, it's I to say that I sometimes bounce out of bed. It's not like I was for whatever reason anymore. I have my good days. Every single day is a conversation to get in the car to go to the gym. Every single day is a conversation, even just getting a shower after the gym instead of just going back to bed. And it's like I'm feeling like I'm fighting this battle over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But every single day, if I don't do it, I don't have that much time before I get really, really depressed.
Right. Right. So, no, it is a constant battle. And my point is, like, I see that. I experience it with you. So, in other words, like, you're doing what you have to do to get yourself to that next level. And you're in discovery right now, figuring out it's like you're hacking yourself, trying to figure out what is the right formula. I need a little of this. It's like you're making your secret sauce, right? So you're in that process, you're in that discovery, and everyone around you is also not in discovery with you, because you're figuring it out for yourself. And we're also in community, so we experience it as well. Just like you experience it from me. When I'm going through my process and trying to show up to be my own hero, you're experiencing that too. And sometimes it's messy, sometimes it's not so great, sometimes it's fantastic.
And
so that's really
one of the other things we were talking about in the car. We were talking about you, Kim,
yes.
and we're talking about my thought about you being here today is emotional for me, because the fact we've talked,
Right.
and we have to take one break right now, and we come on the other side of break, because I want to talk to you about, because what you did to get here today, I mean, all the
Big.
things you put was huge.
Big.
So you think about, like, we talked about some of the people that have been on the show, some of the people that we wanted to bring on the show, and it's, or any show you think about, or like, who would you invite? What kind of person of inspiration would you do that? And it's like, I'm glad that we hooked up, but one of the things is that for you to do this, I know what it took. I'm actually pleased. I'm overwhelmed that you actually made it.
Thank you.
So
I appreciate that.
I'm gonna take a break.
Stay
and
tuned,
then,
everybody, because what Kim's journey is
Is
really exceptional,
amazing.
and the fact that she's even here today is really
Exactly.
exceptional as
Okay.
well.
So I'll
Thank
be
you.
right back.
Farrow Law Firm, standing up to corporate bullies, using innovative, aggressive, and effective strategies to resolve disputes effectively and timely. Contact us at 954-252-9818, online at farrowlawfirm.com, and on Facebook at Farrow Law Firm. We look forward to being of service to you.
You've been listening to the Momentum Mindset Show.
With Jay and Janine, give us a call at 888-565-1470. And now back to the show. Actually,
And welcome back to the Momentum Mindset Show.
Welcome
That
back.
was a quicker break than I remember these breaks being.
Oh my God, what happens in a week? Our memory.
It's good that we don't, disrobe
Exactly.
during these breaks.
That would not be a good thing.
So
Oh my God, that's right. Thank God there are no wardrobe changes, ladies
Right?
and gentlemen.
So we talked before the break about becoming your own hero, and then and we started to talk to you, Kim, about just getting here today, and what's so powerful about what you've done, especially what I've seen from you in the last months since you've been writing and commenting on my Facebook post is how you've blossomed. I mean, I think we spoke way, like maybe some 4 or 5 months ago for the very first time, or maybe longer than
Right.
that. And I know that the person I spoke to like last weekend and the weekend before was just like, I couldn't believe that was you. And so I want to just why don't you share a little bit, about, your life a little bit, and how did you get here today, and what did you break through, and how did you do it? If you don't.
Getting here today, first of all, it was a traffic. I'm not good in traffic. I get anxiety. And dealing with my husband to come because he didn't think I should be here. I have no business being here.
And it's hard. It's, family that, when you're doing something different, it's not easy to explain, hey, I'm going to go and do something on a radio show, especially if you're with somebody and they're not used to you breaking out of your shell.
Exactly. That's the whole problem.
Right, that's very
I
threatening.
called him out on it.
Wow.
I went.
Okay.
I mean,
so
normally I'd
tell
say
us
no.
Tell us a little bit about your background and, sort of why it is such a big deal that you are here today. So give us a little history on the life of Kim.
Because
Yeah.
I feel like I've been in a cage for 33 years. I don't go anywhere. I go to the grocery store, and I go see her once a week, and that's about it. It's my husband's sick. I understand, but I feel like I'm
He
his.
wasn't always sick?
No,
No? Okay.
I feel like I'm his daughter,
Okay.
and he talks to me like I'm his daughter.
So how long, you live in Miramar, right?
Miramar.
Okay. And you said that you rarely travel. Have you traveled, have you gone on vacation? I want the audience to understand how big of a moment this is, because I'm not just, you're hearing someone that came on a radio
Right.
program and you're like, oh no, this is huge, and for this, and I want everybody to acknowledge what you did to get here. So talk to me
Right.
about how long it's been since you've traveled,
3 years ago, when my father passed
and where was that?
in Minnesota, where I'm from,
What part of Minnesota?
St. Cloud.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I went up
Okay.
there.
But other than
Okay.
that, you don't travel that much.
No, because I have to put up with the big,
Right. Okay.
why?
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
I just as soon
It's
cut it
always
off.
been it's
Yeah.
always been like this
Yeah,
in your
always,
marriage?
always.
Okay. So, you said you leave the house really to go to the grocery store and to visit with your friend once a week. And so, coming to do a radio show in Boca is not part of your normal experience.
Definitely not.
No.
Okay. Okay. So, what was it about today that it had to be the day? What changed? What went on with you that created that standing up to that inertia of no?
I had a long talk with his sister, and I told her what was going on, and she told me that I never get to do anything, I never get to go anywhere. Just to go for it, go and do it. And when I told him I was coming, it was like, oh, please, excuse after excuse. Blah, 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 blah. What about me? What about the dogs? Who's gonna watch the dogs? I said, I'm going. I'm gonna go.
Mm.
And when I left, he was mad, but I have to have a life too. I can't be in four walls.
The truth is, you've always can and should have had to have a life. So, but what was it about?
I've always been
lately?
controlled.
Okay, so what had you not want to be controlled anymore, or not subject yourself to that control anymore? What was it about today?
I guess I just got to the point where I'm getting tired of it, and I'm starting to realize that I need to get out on my own too. I need to have a life of my own too.
See, there's something inside, and I can recognize it in you, and I feel it in all of us, that there is some driving force that says, whatever happened even minutes ago is not acceptable anymore, and my soul is telling me to move on.
Mm-hmm.
I have something else to answer to other than my story, in your case, your husband, my stories, whatever that was. It was just time.
Exactly.
And I just see that, and I know that most people wouldn't understand my perspective, but to see how you've broken through, you're like, when I say to some people that do this, when I say do something for themselves that no one else would expect that they do, it's like 1 in 10,000, 1 in a million that would actually take a step into a world with all the conversations, what's going to happen, what happens later, what happens, down the road. But doing that is not something that's usual. And, if you're, what do you think's next for you? What do you, like, if you have the Kim's life, like Kim's perfect life, what are some of the wants that you've wanted to do that you haven't done?
Travel, go see my family.
Any place in particular?
No, just to travel.
Mm.
I'd like to go back to Minnesota and see my family. Go to New York and see my sister, which I haven't seen for a long time.
How many brothers and sisters do you have?
I'm from a family of 13.
Oh, wow! Good
Wow.
Lord!
And I'm fourth.
I was going to say, where did you fall in the order? Good
I'm
Lord!
fourth.
So your siblings don't come to see you?
Yeah, they do.
They do. Okay.
Yeah, they do.
So you have seen family over the
Right.
years.
Right.
Okay.
But it's hard. It's hard. I'd like to go up there and see them too.
Sure, of course.
Right. And they're all in Minnesota
Change
and New
the
York?
scenery.
All the girls are out of Minnesota. We all left.
Okay.
I've got one in Iowa. I've got a sister in Missouri,
Uh-huh.
and then one in New York.
And why
then
did you
me.
move down? Why did you move from Minnesota to
Yeah,
South
how
Florida?
did you end up here?
That's a very long story.
We got
There's
time,
not enough
honey.
time on there.
We got some time. Give us the synopsis.
Do you have about a month? No, it's really
It's a long story.
Yeah, okay.
long
Okay, we're going to
story.
take your word for it.
I'll take your word for it.
Oh,
It
my
is.
goodness. Okay. All right. So what's next for Kim in the sense that, like, so now you created this pattern change.
Correct.
What would you like to see? What would you like to create in the next number of days, weeks, months?
Freedom. Keep doing what I'm doing.
Okay.
If I want to go someplace and somebody asks me to go, I'm going to go.
Okay.
It's just,
Instead of the old
okay.
standby of no,
No.
I'm going to stay
No,
home.
You have to stay
Right.
here.
There's a I don't know, is it a pot? What is it that we have hanging up in that house? It's called second chance at a second life. What is that?
It's a candle.
Is that a candle?
It's a candle
And it
that says
says
second chance at a second life.
Second chance at a second life. And
Exactly.
almost 2 years ago, when I there was I it was February of 2 years ago, and a good friend of mine, lawyer friend of mine, and I was just about 3 months out of the hospital at that point, and he said, I have this program that I wanted to talk to you about, and we've talked about it. And I'm just saying that this is one of the things that I didn't know, but at the time I knew that my soul was searching for something different, something that would give me a life that I could feel like it was worth living, because every day seemed like yesterday. And so I went, and I did the same thing that you're doing. And there's an awakening that I had of who I was, where I was, and then what's possible from here on out. I've had this conversation recently with my parents, who, sometimes they have the conversation that, basically their life's over with. It's just like they're just,
existing.
They're just existing. And I said that my parents are now in their very early 70s. I say there's people that I know that are in their 90s. They're on bikes and they're doing yoga and they're doing all these things. And it's like, that's for them, but not for, you know what? They were like you at one point before they became them,
Exactly.
and it's really all within us of what we want to create in our life. And we were talking about before the show about my 2 socks.
Yeah.
Because every single day I wear 2 different pairs of socks because I want to remind myself to do something uncomfortable, something that doesn't make any sense, and be mindful of that. And then the things that show up, I start to notice that my world shifts when I pay attention to doing things that are uncomfortable, brushing my teeth with my left hand. It's like those little things that I'm finding that support me, and when I do them, other things will show up. How did this work with this? And I'm just, I after we go through this and you go home, I'm just look what happens in your life. Someone's going to be like fantastic and very happy, good stuff, and then someone's going to be like, not
It's
so
going to be
easy.
like the silent treatment.
Well,
Oh, is that the flavor?
Yeah,
Oh,
silent
okay.
treatment.
Okay. All right.
We
We'll
just won't talk for a while.
just put some good music on. That's a
course.
good companion.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting because everybody has a flavor of, in my household, I notice that when I get upset, silence is my default because that's what I witnessed as a child. My parents didn't speak for a while. Some people, that's not their default because their parents yelled. So they became yellers. They may have hated it, but that's what they became. And I didn't particularly enjoy the silence, but I become quiet also. So it's interesting that everybody has a different flavor at home when things go a little sideways.
and I also, for our audience, just what do we take for granted? And we were talking about this in the car right up about you. We've talked to you a little, so I hope you don't mind.
Yeah.
But we take things for granted. We take travel for granted. We take driving across town for granted.
Yes.
I grew up with a lot of anxiety, so I know what it feels like to be anxiety stricken about not wanting to get up or go out or do anything. And these are the things that, like, this is why it makes it so remarkable, is that you're actually doing this and sitting here and taking the world on for what you've done for my estimations. Because you were here and now you took this kind of a jump, your first time out of the box.
Yeah.
And some people just buy a book.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
can feel it too.
Yeah.
I can feel it. Yeah. I
Okay,
feel
so
good.
what do you, so tell us what you're
I feel good.
experiencing.
I feel good. I didn't think I could do it. I was scared because of the repercussion, but it's not the first time. I feel good. It feels good.
And
That's
she,
awesome.
and she,
That's so amazing. And yeah, Jay and I were talking about just that. For some people, they're like, well, what's the big deal? She went from Miramar to Boca. Who cares? But
Big
when you
deal.
haven't done it in decades or however long it's been in this, very sort of cloistered marriage,
And
it's
there's-
a huge deal. And again, there's no judgment for that. Everybody decides.
And there's somebody out there that's
times, yeah.
watching, somebody out
Yeah,
there, or
and listening.
I was just sharing about not being able to get up sometimes the way that I want to get up, or the time that I want to get up,
Yeah.
or the conversation. But it's like I'm going to think about you when the next time because it's that knowing that you're not alone, knowing that somebody else just did that makes something else possible.
Mm-hmm.
So even though it's like you think that you're talking about partnership also, about we're living in community. So it's like seeing this miracle, and
Yeah.
you take that and you get to I get to
Yeah.
hold on to that.
Yeah.
Some of the things that I'm most grateful for in my life is one of them is remembering when I told my grandmother I had just passed the Florida bar. And I was at her, my grandmother lived right next door to my aunt's house. And so I learned the results at my aunt's house. My mom told me, and I ran over to my grandmother's house. And she came out, she was in her walker, and she started to cry. And it was like one of these moments where I saw on her face, like she felt like all, not just pride, but a certain sense of her life meant something, as well, to be able to support me to get there. So this, like these moments, like you just showing up here is like some of the things that we hold into our cookie jar. One of the authors that we've been reading talks about this idea of a cookie jar, and an emotional cookie jar is like when you're going through something, you're thinking about, what's going to get me through.
Yeah, the next day, just when you think you can't take it anymore, but you've got so much more to go, you reach into that cookie jar and you think of things that you've accomplished in the past or things that made you feel good, things that nourish you and give you strength and lift you up so that you can keep going. So this is one.
Now, on the other side of the break, I want to talk about not the other side of the cookie jar.
Yeah.
Is the things that you can use that not necessarily would be like the most exciting things in the world or most pleasurable things in the world. So
Right.
we're going to talk about that right when we come back from the break. So see you in a second.
Okay.
Farrow Law Firm, standing up to corporate bullies, using innovative, aggressive, and effective strategies to resolve disputes effectively and timely. Contact us at 954-252-9818, online at farrowlawfirm.com, and on Facebook at Farrow Law Firm. We look forward to being of service to you.
You've been listening to the Momentum Mindset Show.
With Jay and Janine, give us a call at 888-565-1470. And now back to the show. Yeah.
Welcome back one more time to the
Welcome
Momentum
back,
Mindset
everybody.
Show.
Eventually, we'll get the timing of these
with
commercials.
our special guest, Kim.
Kim DeLuca.
And we were talking about becoming your own hero, and we're talking about acknowledging you today as like for you showing up today, knowing what a big deal it was for you to get here. So proud of you. And we just had someone run into the show and say something along the lines what we were just talking about. It's like, I feel you. I grew up and something happened to me, and my husband did X, Y, and Z, and look at that. Everybody's got something.
Everybody does have something.
Everybody has that something that's stopping them from doing the kinds of things that of showing up like you did today.
Exactly.
Exactly. So, it's those things we were talking about, the cookie jar.
Mm-hmm.
Those memories that you have, like my grandmother, like telling her that I passed the Florida bar. There's other things though that I've gone through, and I just met with this friend of mine, not actually a couple of days ago. And I told him, I said, one of the most powerful things that I use to keep me going is my time in the hospital, because I remember the hours that passed by, and I'm not going anywhere. The nurses, they're not even enrolled in taking care of me, and because of the reason I was in the emergency room, and being there for hours, knowing that you can't go anywhere, you have all the tubes stuck into you, but there's nowhere to go. There's no one coming in. And you're just there by yourself. And it's those moments of going through that made me feel connected to myself. I really found who I am. I met myself, and I became okay with me just being me in those hours. In that context.
Right.
And so those things, like all in that emotional cookie jar that we all have to keep us going, they have those things. They have the things that are sad but you made it through. I have a friend that said, "Hey, I didn't die." It's like I had to go and tell my boss I wanted a raise, and he told me no, but I didn't die. I there's these things that at the end of the day you get through them, and then you get to put those things into your emotional cookie jar to move forward.
So can you identify something in your emotional cookie jar that said, okay, I'm getting in the car, I'm going to see Jay and Janine at their office, and we're going to Boca to do a radio show?
Well, I have to thank my friend, because
Okay.
she was there for me.
Okay, awesome. Yes, we
And-
have Melissa also
Yes.
sitting with us in the studio, who is
Yes.
a dear friend of Kim's. So yeah, I mean, God, I can't even remember like
Which, by the way,
amount of.
thank you for
Yeah.
setting this up and being this supportive. It-
Yeah,
Sweetheart.
absolutely. I can't even tell you the amount of times that I've leaned on my friends and family when I have really needed it. And there's something to be said to that. So that's so beautiful and so awesome. And yeah, I mean,
Yes, yes.
she helped you to show up here
Yes,
for yourself.
yes.
That's awesome.
Yes, she did.
That's awesome. Wow. Okay. So, and speaking of the emotional cookie jar, I imagine that it was not easy. It hasn't been easy over the decades to live in such a small world, kind of. So, what has kept you going all of these years? Because you're a beautiful woman. You're obviously vivacious and intelligent, and have still that joy and you curiosity to live life. So, what are the cookie jars? What are the cookies that you've used to keep you going over the years?
God.
Ah, that's a huge one.
Right.
That's like the big old cookie in the
God.
sky. Yep.
Yes.
Do you go to church?
No.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Right.
But I do a lot of praying.
Mm-hmm.
And I know he's got me. My mom, she's watching down on me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
that's a big one. Wow.
that's the biggest thing. I'm just the type of person that I'd rather be silent than have to argue or fight or explain or things like that. I turn it off. Just throw away the key. Instead of having a big argument about something. I'm not that kind of person. I never was.
Right.
So, but do you think that that has also contributed to the situation? Like, how has that silence or that defense mechanism, has it helped you or has it hindered you? What do you think, looking back on it?
Hindered.
Yeah.
Because I never had a voice.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. Okay. So that's
And-
interesting.
Definitely.
That's powerful too to recognize, because, when you don't realize what you're contributing to a situation, you can never change it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. That's huge.
And being that hero for yourself, it's not something. It's not a one and done thing. That's what I'm coming to find, and it is a journey, and it does take the practice. That's been coming up a lot lately is the question I'm getting is, how do I know that if I'm loving myself? Like, this is a question, like, I need to love myself more. What does that look like? And I said, every time I wake up in the morning and I make my bed, I'm loving myself. Every time that I'm in the shower and I actually take a full shower and I wash myself, okay.
What is a half shower?
Okay.
What
I'm
do
not
you mean,
spoken
a
about
full or
that.
a half shower?
Guys have different ways to take a shower. I mean, see
They
it
do?
in and out, just like
Oh.
quickly, or it's like a full thing. I think it's either the 3-minute version or the 7.5. I mean, it's just that's what it.
Okay.
Okay. This is curious
Anyway.
now. Anyway,
We're learning about taking a shower.
I
It's-
know.
It's.
Okay.
I'm not talking about loving myself in the shower either. I'm just talking about.
Whoa, now the show really got good, y'all. Come on now. Tune in.
wait.
He said it.
Wow, you said.
But I'm talking about.
walking
I'm
into-
talking about loving. All right, this is where.
Okay, I get what you're saying. We're getting off the shower topic completely.
Every time that I fold my clothes after the laundry's actually done, instead of pressing another 20 minutes on the dryer, By the way, the 20 minutes on the extra on the dryer does work. Okay,
As a wrinkle
It gets
release.
the wrinkles out of the clothes, and even if they've been there for a day. But the time if I do take them out right away, I know that I'm loving myself. If I get up and I do the routine, the exercise routine, the way that I committed to, I know that I'm loving myself. If I get to the office and do the work that I think that I set out to do that day, that's loving myself. And these are the things that when I have these little check marks, they make me feel like something's accomplished, satisfied, and that I didn't let myself down. And that's one of the things that I think, people say, well, I don't know if I'm loving myself, or I don't know if I'm...
Yeah, I had that conversation.
I think that if you look around and you're doing the things, showing up today or taking a longer shower, it all adds up. It does.
Right.
And
right.
then, little piece by piece, things start, you can look back on the day and say, okay, I did all this stuff for myself.
Right.
I mean, and over time, for me, it's been showing me that number one, that I'm willing to do things for myself that I wasn't willing to do before. And now I feel better.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, definitely. And, Jay and I, we've been discussing a lot, especially, things that have to do with the business. And one of the things that I heard and I touched on last week too is that loving yourself is showing up to do the work even when the results aren't there yet. And that really spiders out into everything, right? So, for example, even you, Kim, today you showed up, and we know that it's a huge deal. And the more you show up for yourself and show up for yourself, your world expands. You're loving yourself. You're finally saying, okay, wow, I'm actually going to do something that my heart desires, and I'm doing it for me, and I'm going to trust that that's going to open more doors and more doors and more life and more experience and more beautiful things, even though along with it could come some conflict, right? And
Right.
can come some adjustment. But showing up for yourself to give yourself joy and experience life, even though the results immediately may not be so fantastical, it's still, you keep on going and you keep on doing. And I was talking to Jay that one of the things that has me really in the question in this past week is that I tormented myself to lose all kinds of weight, and then I've put some back on, and I'm frustrated. I mean, I know why I did it. I was eating my feelings for 2.5 months, like like I was going to the chair. And so, obviously it has its things, and now I'm reaping the repercussions and having all of those conversations. But my frustration is really with, why did I love myself more 2.5 months ago than I do now? Because essentially my heart is the same. I still have the same soul. I still have all of those good. What made me more valuable in my own mind 2.5 months ago? Yes, I was exercising, and yes, I was eating a little bit better, this, that, and the other. But is that the totality of it? Like, why can't I, what is it that I look in the mirror now? I'm frustrated that I'm looking in the mirror now, and yeah, I see the extra pounds, but I also see that I'm not being as kind to myself. Like I hear myself saying like, ugh, like, whoa, Nelly.
I'm not that.
That kind of thing. And it bothers me because I'm like, I don't think about anybody else that way. If Jay put on a couple pounds, I'm not like, Jay, I love you less. No, I love you the same. I don't care.
Exactly.
So I do get and Jay was telling you, well, the truth is because you do look better, you do feel better, you do this, that, and the other. Yes, all of those things are true. But my innate curiosity is even deeper than that.
Are you gonna be okay? You're gonna love yourself no matter what.
Yeah. When does
I'm not that evolved.
When does that show up? When do I get to love myself no matter what? Because as a woman, men look better with age, in my opinion. Most men, well, some not so much, but most men, as they age, that salt and pepper, the little, wrinkles here, the expression lines, they're even called a different thing. We don't call them expression lines, we call them wrinkles. Okay? So all of those things, and I have never been an exceptionally vain person compared to the average woman, but I am in my mid-40s now, and I am looking at my skin and how it's a little bit different than it was, and I'm like, hey! So my sister-in-law said something to me today about, we've got to, as we're getting older, we have to accept. I said, I'm not accepting nothing. I refuse. In fact, I'm going to hack myself, and I'm going to shave 10 years off my appearance. Like, this is how I mean. So what does that mean? I'm going to love myself more? I mean, it's ridiculous. The whole thing, it's like, where does this go? It's endless.
So as you're speaking that, I'm saying to myself, I'm not that evolved. For me, I want.
Yeah, because Jay did say, I said to him, what, I'm going to marry a man, he's going to age. He's not going to be as gorgeous as the day I met him necessarily in 20, 30 years. What, I'm going to stop loving him? And Jay's like, yeah, maybe.
But, you may stop. I don't know if it's love or is it the spark
or the desire. Yeah, but that's a different thing. That's regardless of, because you've always said no matter how hot the woman is, you're not necessarily always having the spark.
No, I'm not talking about no, but I'm not that evolved. What I mean by that is that for me right now in my life, I need to see things that are okay with me. Like I need to see. I mean, I'm not in the kumbaya. I can sit there and meditate and be okay, and then love myself all the time.
Right. No, clearly I'm not there either.
I have metrics like my business, my health, my workout routine. It's not even how I look. It actually is not even how I look. It's how I act. In other words, like if I'm actually doing the stuff that I should be doing, especially the work in the office, and I cannot stress this enough. I cannot seem to figure out this concept of getting to the office and seeing all the stuff that needs to get done, and it's 6 hours later,
doing it,
and just doing it. Mm-hmm. Because for me, I don't care if how I look. I don't. It's not. There's nothing about me that says I'm going to love myself because of how I look. If I can figure out how to get things done, that's how I'm going to start feeling fulfillment. And I think maybe that I'm collapsing fulfillment with self-love.
Sure. Well, because until you're figuring it all out, we're collapsing it all the time.
Right.
You know, I mean, look at what I did. I think I am evolved, and I.
But no, we're
look
talking
15
about,
pounds heavier.
But
and
you're
I'm
talking about loving
What?
yourself. You're talking about loving
It's
yourself
nonsense.
no matter what.
Exactly.
But
I'm
wait.
not there yet.
Okay. Now,
I'm not.
accepting yourself, loving yourself. Sometimes I collapse ability with worth.
Yeah.
About my
Yeah,
ability. Like, in
sure.
other words, I heard this powerful conversation about procrastination. It was a TEDx talk from a guy from Princeton, and he was explaining that there's that people equate ability and their self-worth.
Yes.
And that's, I think, some of what you're talking about when you're talking about, well, if I've gained a couple pounds, am I still going to love myself? If I'm not as, young, then I'm not going to love myself.
Right.
But it's also like, for me, I'm equating my ability to get things done with my worth, and that function, it's like how is it that I can do all of these other things, but I get into the office and it's like
A block.
paralyzed. You were talking about anxiety. I have this thing. I walk into my office and there's things on that vision board you saw. You were just in my
Right.
office.
Right.
I can't get to that stuff. I mean, it could be there. I have to have someone walk in with me and literally sit there like almost like a personal trainer and actually get the work done with me. And I feel less of a man. I feel inadequate. I feel horrible. And so as the day goes by, and I think now we're talking about this, this is coming up. When you walk in my office and I have all that stuff on my vision board I haven't got to yet, and then we're talking about the Momentum program, and I'm like, I feel like a failure to begin with. I'm not saying that's everything, but it's certainly huge. It's like, okay, well, I'm just going to walk in and we're going to talk about this now. And it's like, okay, I can't get that done. I can't see my way to figure out how to get to my office and actually get to work. And I am 43 years old. I'm all the smarts. And if there's a deadline, or if there's like a drop thing, then I know that I'm going to do it. Why? Because it's my looking good conversation.
Well, yeah, there's punishment on the end of that.
Right. Unless there's punishment, I'm not getting anything done. Because I know I can get away with stuff, and my mind doesn't allow me to actually focus in. Because part of that is there's challenging stuff on that board, and there's a fear of failure that I can't figure that stuff out unless it goes to the other side, the fear of pain. Did you say pain?
Yeah, or punishment.
My fear of punishment outweighs my fear of failure. My fear of punishment outweighs my fear of failure,
Wow,
and then I
that's
get
huge.
done, and I'll get onto a project. Even this stuff that we're working on with Donnell, it's like when we come up to the deadline, or if it was a couple of days before. I mean, then there was stuff to get done.
Yep.
Okay,
Well, let's think about it. You have always functioned like that, right? So, in my estimation, when I hear you talk about it, it's like I feel your frustration. I experience it. I see it. I have my own conversations, and today we've replaced being smart with being productive. It's the same sword. If you're not that, then you're worthless. If you're not smart, you're worthless. If you're dumb, you're worthless. Like, we have all of these things that we should be, and if we're not showing up in those shoulds, we all feel terrible, like failures, like we're not making it, like it's an endless loop.
I can't see and this is honest to God truth. I cannot see myself clear to start working on anything else when I'm like, oh my God, there's all that stuff that I haven't done.
Right.
It's now 5 hours into the day and I haven't touched X, Y, and Z.
Well, part of it is that there are way too many things on that board, and actually, that's one of the things that when I looked at it today, I said to our associate today in the office, that board it's too much going on. So no matter how productive you are, it's going to screw you up because it's like Cirque du Soleil. Where do you look first? Because the way it is, it's like a list here, and then on the right hand side there's a first to attack list. It's nonsense. It's too much noise, and I think that that's part of the thing. You're going to figure it out. It's going to get figured out. Why? Because also your soul is being called to it. Just like, for some people it's yoga, for some people it's CrossFit, for some people it's yoga and CrossFit, for some people it's water polo, for some people it's riding a horse that they need, whatever it is, but it takes time to get there. And if you've been 43 years without that practice, it's going to take you some time to get there. Got to figure it out. Maybe it is that person sitting in the office with you. Maybe it is you feeling
I
kind of
actually
crappy.
thought about hiring a professional babysitter for myself. Not kidding. Someone that actually, I pay them minimum wage just to sit in that office and just sit with me as I go through it. I mean, even if it was somebody like a professional, just like I have the other Janine and help supporting me as a personal training. I thought, what if I hired somebody to sit with me in a chair till the work gets done, until I can actually get the muscle memory to do it. It's almost like a spotter, because there's something about, I mean, I was listening to this guy from Princeton, but he kind of touched on this, and it flashed. I'm like, okay, because if I can't, there's no way that I can get another project handed to me, and I'm like looking at that, and it's like, oh my God, I haven't even done that yet. And then it's like, then I come up with that concept of just do the one thing. Just do the one thing in your life. Like we had this book that I read, One Thing, Do One Thing. So I started to get super focused from personal development, trainer, then the transformation of business, and then finally we started to niche down in the law firm. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be a super lawyer, supporting people, standing up to the bullies in their life. I see myself in this role and this powerful, position, and everything else is starts to get on the periphery in the margins, and it's like, and if I'm not getting that stuff done, I don't feel manly.
Right. Get it.
And to be completely vulnerable, I mean, you feel like I goes to the worthless. My inability, not smart.
Right. Right. Particularly when you've been branded smart your whole life, it threatens your identity. It's a really serious thing. This week I was honored to sit on a panel of women because my dear friend Elle Watkins Rude has created a show. Literally, she's like, I want to be a star. I'm going to be a star. I am a star. We all agree she is a star. And she created a show, and she had me be on the panel with 3 other ladies, and we were talking about these labels and how incredibly crushing they are. So yours is compounded by the fact that the expectation, your own and
My
that of
own
others,
expectation.
your own and that of other people, because you have such an incredible intellect, is that anything less than threatens your entire identity. How else are you going to feel? I have a similar situation. I have a similar story, not as severe, clearly, but yeah, it's extremely frustrating when you can't get things done. How do you get things done?
Just do it.
Really? So you don't think about it much.
Do you
No,
ever
you
have
just
the
do
same
it.
issues
Yeah,
that I'm
so
talking about? See, some people have, but there's something about however you have it in your head to get things done, that you are either not afraid to fail, and that's really, really cool, or you're just like, I need to get it done because if I don't, there's consequences.
So what does
Both.
work for you? Okay.
Both.
So let's say you have like a huge project at home to tackle. How do you tackle it? Where do you start?
I just go into it. I go after it.
Okay.
See, some people have that.
Yeah, some people have that. Right. Sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, just
We have a.
go
I
after
don't know
it.
if it's a comment, but I can't read it. But
Oh.
so
Glennie Morrison is saying you have to love yourself before you love anyone else or the ones around you. We can't not be hearing this only all the time and it not be true. That's what I'm saying.
True.
And I agree with that 100%. Then you get to go, well, how do you know that you're loving yourself? And then,
Yeah, I thought I was loving myself until I gained weight. And
it's
then
called
I'm like,
planning to get
wait.
all those things on your schedule that need to be done. Yes. And what I'm learning is not to put that much stuff on your schedule.
Correct. In other words, like I looked at your board today and I was like, good Lord, that board is just punishing. First of all, it's punishing. Second of all, it's way too many things. Like it's just,
There's $50 million of lawsuits on there. Do you know that?
yeah, I do know that. Hello. I actually pay attention when we're at work. Yes, I know that. And it's a huge responsibility. It's big. It's big. I know.
But then if I don't learn how to like to chunk this down and then have these little things that are coming up, it's like tomorrow's going to look like yesterday, which is exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So we can continue this on. Before we're out of time, I want to acknowledge you again, Kim,
Thank you, Kim.
and
Thank
for,
you.
for showing up for yourself first.
Yes, for being your own hero.
Because this is really truly loving yourself. I mean, this is an example of it. This is, live and in person. And I appreciate you, and I appreciate all the support that you've given myself and to Janine.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you. Likewise.
And thank you for driving, and
Yes, thank you, Melissa.
and we appreciate you as well.
For being such a
Everybody
good
else, we'll
friend.
see you next week.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Momentum Mindset Show. For your hosts, Jay and Janine, we'll see you here next week. Thank you for being real, authentic, and honest.
If you'd like to reach us, please contact us on our Facebook page, The Momentum Mindset Show, or on our office phone line, which is 954-559-6987.
We are stronger together.
And remember, keep going.